For the first week, the girls were very good. Everybody did their jobs without complaining. Everybody helped each other. Then they began to get lazy. Jo caught a cold because she forgot that she didn't have any hair and didn't wear a hat. Aunt March told her to stay home until she was better. Jo was happy about this and sat all day reading books and writing. Meg spent a lot of time reading the papers and writing long letters to her mother. Beth was the only one who kept busy, doing all her little jobs. One day, Beth asked Meg to go and see the Hummels. Beth said she was too tired. Beth asked Jo. Jo still had a cold. She said she couldn't go to the Hummels. "Why don't you go?" asked Meg. "I have been every day, but the baby is sick, and I don't know what to do," answered Beth. "My head aches, and I am tired. I thought one of you would go." "I want to finish my story," said Jo. "I'll go tomorrow," said Meg. They decided to wait until Amy came home from school. They would ask her to go. An hour later, Amy was not home. The girls were still busy with their clothes and stories. Beth put on her coat and put some food in her basket and went to the Hummels. The air was very cold. She was feeling sick. It was late when she quietly came home and went to her mother's room. It was even later when Jo went into the room and found her sitting on a chair, crying. Jo felt very bad. Beth told her that she went to the Hummels, and the baby died when she was holding it. The baby had scarlet fever. The doctors came and said the other children had scarlet fever too. He told Beth to go home, or she would get scarlet fever as well. Beth became ill. They didn't know what to do. The doctor thought she would get better soon. They decided not to tell Mommy because she needed to stay in Washington. Their father was worse again. They sent Amy to Aunt March so that she would not get sick. Amy didn't want to go, but Lowry said he would come and visit her every day. Beth became very ill. She had to stay in bed. She was very hot. She couldn't talk properly. She forgot the names of her sisters. Meg sat and watched her and realized that being rich meant having sisters who loved you. Beth lay in bed with one of her dolls. The doctor came twice a day. At the beginning of December, it began to snow, and the wind was very cold. The doctor said that they should ask Mrs. March to come home. He was afraid that Beth would die. Jo was about to rush out to send the telegram when she met Lowry. Lowry came in to say that he had a letter from Mr. Brooke. Mr. March was getting better again. Jo told him what the doctor said about Beth. Jo cried and cried. Lowry held her hand and talked to her. "She must not die," said Jo. "She is too good to die," said Lowry. "Good people always die young," said Jo. She began to cry again. Lowry had a surprise for her. "I sent a telegram to your mother yesterday," he said, "because I was worried. So was my grandfather. Mr. Brooke sent a telegram back to say that your mother would come immediately. She will be here tonight." Jo could not believe it. She held on to Lowry. She laughed and cried at the same time. They were all pleased to hear that Mommy was coming home. But Beth was very, very sick. She lay in bed all day. The cold wind blew the snow against the window. Beth could not eat. Her face was hot and dry. The doctor came. He said that tonight she would either get better or she would die. He could not help her any more. The girls sat with her all night. They prayed for her to get better as they waited for Mommy to arrive. She was very late. They worried that something very bad had happened in Washington. It was after 2 o'clock in the morning when Joe looked at Beth and saw that she had changed. She was not hot. The look of pain had gone. Her face was pale and restful. Joe bent down and kissed her. She thought Beth had died. "Goodbye, Beth," she whispered. Hannah woke up. She felt Beth's hands and face. She sat down and cried. "The fever has gone," she said. "She is sleeping." The doctor came. "Yes, girls," he said. "She is alive, and she will live. The fever has gone. Keep the house quiet, and let her sleep and rest." Joe and Meg went out into the hall and hugged each other. It was a very long hug. Morning was very beautiful the next day. It was even more beautiful when Mommy arrived. While these things were happening at home, Amy was with Aunt March. It was difficult for her there because Aunt March did not know how to talk to children. Lowry came to visit her every day and often took her out to the theater or for a ride on his horse. Amy was friendly with Esther, Aunt March's servant. She was French and loved to tell Amy stories about France. Amy was also allowed to look at all the things that Aunt March had in her cupboards. She sometimes dressed in Aunt March's old clothes. Aunt March had some beautiful jewels and rings, and Amy liked to play them. Esther was a good friend to her. She told her that Aunt March was going to give all her jewels and clothes to the 4 girls when she died. She showed Amy the little ring that was going to be hers if she was good. "I wish she would give it to me now," said Amy, and decided to be very good. It was a beautiful ring, and she liked it very much. She thought about Aunt March's will, which told people that they would get when she died. She wanted to have a will, too. She wrote one. She asked Esther and Lowry to sign it. Lowry told her that Beth was very sick. Amy cried and hoped that Beth would get better soon. She suddenly didn't care about the ring. Mommy told the girls about their father and how he was getting better. Mr. Brooke stayed with him in Washington. That day was a very quiet but happy day. Meg and Joe made sure that Mommy had everything she wanted. Lowry went to tell Amy, who was so pleased that she forgot all about the ring. She wanted to go home and see her Mommy, but she could see that Lowry was very tired. She decided to write a note. While she was writing it, Lowry fell asleep. She let him rest. Then she was surprised because Mommy came to Aunt March's house to see her. Amy was the happiest girl in the world. Mommy saw that she was wearing a ring. "What's this?" she asked. "Aunt March gave it to me," explained Amy. "She said I was such a good girl that she wanted me to have the ring now." "I think you are too young to wear such a ring," said Mommy. "I want to wear it to help me remember something," said Amy. "Every time I see it, I will remember not to be selfish." Mommy listened to Amy's plan. "Beth is not selfish, and that's why everyone loves her," said Amy. "I want to be more like her." Mommy decided to let her wear the ring. That evening, Joe told her mother about Mr. Brooke and Meg's lost glove. Mrs. March listened carefully. Then she told Joe about Mr. Brooke, whom she called John. "He was very helpful to us," she said, "and we grew to like him a lot. He told us that he loved Meg, and he hoped that one day he would have enough money to ask her to marry him. You must not tell Meg about this, Joe. I want to see how Meg feels about him when he returns. Why don't you tell him to go away and leave us as we are? Asked Joe. We are so happy together. Mommy sighed. It is only right that you will all go away from me one day, she said. We cannot stop time.